you. So I'm talking about a little bit about the standards, giving an overview about the projects we have in the area of ventilation and cooling standards, which is covered by CEN TC 156. Some of the slides, as you see here, it's pretty full of information. Actually, I apologize for that, but are referring to issues that have already been talked about by Bjarni. For instance, here the first line shows his work item, actually, that he was talking about before. I'm not going further in detail to that. What you see here is actually that we have in total about, after some mergers we did, in the meantime, we have about 9 work items that we are working on, distributed on 5 different working groups that are indicated here with these numbers. There is a short statement in respect of the numbering. We are, although we, as you can see here, we are revising existing standards, which have the numbers are indicated here. We will most probably get new numbers for all our standards, indicated with the XXXXX here, probably one single number for all, just adding -1, -2, -3, and so forth. So we will have one number for these all, most probably. Maybe there will be a discussion about that again. I'm not sure about it. You can see, well, there is one work item here is the revision of 13779. Bjarni was just shortly referring to that in respect of the ventilation effectiveness, for instance. It also gets a new part. Well, it had already information on that about the expression of energy performance, and that's relating to, we have that at different places, also in other areas like the heating area, about system-specific energy expression issues, like indicators that are specific to the building services. That's where, in respect of ventilation system, we'll have it in this revised standard. Then there is this blue portion, are actually the calculation standards for ventilation and cooling systems that we are going to provide. And then plus the storage system, it's in a separate working group because the expert working here had a very close relation to the heating and domestic hot water work items. And the 2 existing inspection standards down here that will be merged to one standard for inspection of ventilation and air conditioning systems. Here you see also the names associated to the working groups and some expert names here. So if you want to approach people in respect of a certain work item, you can do so. The distribution of our work items to the so-called modular structure that we have, this table, it's just part of the table actually that we have in all the standards. Also the now almost ready for publishing version of the overarching standard has this table, and it just shows, highlights the areas that are covered by these work items that we are dealing with in TC 156. So it means cooling, ventilation, humidification, anti-humidification issues are covered, and we are covering several of the sub-modules here, from emission distribution and generation mainly, plus a few others, and the inspection down here. One item is out of this is actually in the overarching part, and that's again Bjarni's standard that he has already been talking about. I'm not now going quickly through some of the work items, mainly in the calculation area. This standard, which is the revised EN15251, is actually covering the generation, that's what we call generation and distribution part of ventilation. It is we have a little bit of sorting out between the other document 15242, we change a little bit the distribution of information. And now, after some work, we decided to split that in two separate documents. We have actually, initially, we planned to have two methods in one document, but we now split it and make it really two separate documents. The first document giving a detailed method for ventilation and air conditioning systems with mainly focused on an hourly time step calculation, a very comprehensive calculation with all aspects of air conditioning systems, covering, as I said, the generation, which we call generation, which means the air handling unit in ventilation service, and the distribution, which means the duct system. And then we have the other document, which will give a simplified method for compact residential systems, which is actually based on a proposal which came from the residential ventilation working group, and it focuses on a monthly calculation step and includes, other than the other one, it includes even the heat generation, because it covers compact systems which have this built in, actually, the air-to-air heat pump, for instance, generation built in. This is just a schematic from the detailed document, method A, which shows what stages and air treatments that we cover in here, and so it is very comprehensive and gives a lot of information. It's a pretty heavy document. What we have now in here is different airflow control types, such as this is a response to some questions just before. When we go from the required airflow rates that we get from Bjarne Olesen standard, we have to, with the system, to react somehow on these required airflow rates, but the system may provide exactly what is required. It may, depending on the control strategy, also provide more than what is required. So here is actually the building automation coming into the game. And that's what we are doing actually in close collaboration with TC 247, the building automation people. Same is true for supply air controls. I mean, the properties of the supply air, the heat recovery types, we have different types covered, which have also auxiliary energy associated. And again, control is an issue. Frost protection needs control. We have some recirculation, maybe, which we have to control, and there is a new procedure also provided by TC247 about the fan control, which is again a different thing, especially for multi-zone system. It's going to be quite. It's covering all different types of control, and it has to be there because it has a big impact on the fan energy consumption. What I still plan actually to be added is about adiabatic cooling, which would, of course, also enable the standard to cover some renewable energy type of, or alternative energy type of systems. Then the other standard, it's a bit. It's more covering the emission part now. Actually, it actually means the calculation of the flow rates based on, as I said already, the other standards, the requirements. Actually, it covers now also not only natural ventilation by windows and vents and so forth, but also for the mechanical ventilation. Maybe also the conditions of supply air that will be determined here in this standard and reported to the other standard. Then I go to cooling systems. We have some. We had this EN15243, which was actually a pretty heavy document, the existing one, with many informative annexes, and according to the new rule, we will transfer this information to the technical report. The same is true for some of information we have about design process and so forth in the normative text. Plus, we add again, here a piece of information about the expression of energy performance now for cooling. But what we take off is actually two pieces, the cooling generation part and the cooling load calculation part, which will be separate documents. In the TR, we plan to also show, I can show just this graph here, show a method about how we plan to treat things like ventilative cooling, for instance, which involves actually different modules from the building side as well as from the ventilation side, plus control issues. So it's not something that we can cover in one document, but we can give a guidance in the TR on how the different modules have to be interconnected to cover this effect of ventilative cooling. Then we have the design cooling load. This refers to Dick van Dijk's presentation. Actually, it's one of the a collaboration project with TC89 or ISSO. The intention is to use actually the same unified room model that Dick van Dijk already presented, also for the load calculation, and just applying different boundary and operational conditions to it. For instance, the design period for the climate and other use patterns, maybe with less simultaneity factors or something like that. It's not fixed yet. There were announced some simplified methods from countries actually that will be maybe added to that document. This document has not been developed so far, and it is also not time critical, but because there is no direct link to the energy calculation scheme. Then the generation for the cooling generation is a new work item which we took off from EN15251. We are covering two methods here in one document, one for the hourly calculation and the one for a monthly calculation. We cover compressor and absorption chillers. We cover multiple generators handling. We cover free cooling control options, which means here in that context, direct cooling via the heat rejection device by bypassing the chiller. We cover different heat rejection types, dry, wet, hybrid heat recovery devices, which involves, again, of course, some control issues. And we have here a clear connection to product standards, we need the data for the performance map of the components, especially for the chillers, which are reported according to the CEN standards 14825 and test measurements. We need a little bit more than just the 4 measurement points to get a performance map in this way for particle ratios and temperature differences. But we make it in a way that we need really the minimum output. It's a little bit more than the 4 measurement points. And then the last issue that I will cover here is we have also a new work item in the storage area. The method actually which was developed here is applicable to all calculation time steps. It covers different storage types, not only the normal water tanks, but also ice storage and phase change materials. And the storage charging circuit is actually included in the storage work item. That's for the moment all I can say about that. I didn't really cover all the work items we have, but I guess it's enough information.